Hello, fellow classmates. My name is Juan Sierra. I'm here to talk about one of my most inspiring heroes that I have ever looked up to. And he's quite of an unsung hero uh, around everywhere except Mexico. But the individual I want to talk to you about is his name is Emiliano Zapata. He was a general. He was a general in the Mexican Revolution during the 1800s through the 1900s. All right. Now, this individual wasn't just any kind of individual. All right. He was somebody with standards. He knew respect. He knew how to treat people, how they're supposed to be treated, and most importantly, he knew what freedom meant. Alright? And Emiliano Zapata was a charro with elegance. Alright? A charro is somebody who wears that Marachi kind of suit, that thing. It's kind of like that. They used to wear that back then, and back then that was like, for people who had money, that was pretty, elegant. And he would wear that in combat. He would dress like that in combat, and he would have stains of his enemy's blood, either on his boots or on his clothes, And the reason why I want to talk about this hero of mine is because before this assignment and before I even started college, actually, there was this little conversation I had with one of my siblings. You see, I was at a family party, and I went into the living room. There was a TV there. There was a movie on, and it was an old Mexican movie, and it was about Emiliano Zapata. And my cousin was sitting on the other side of the couch, and he was on his phone, wasn't even paying attention, And I told him, I'm like, hey, do you know who Emiliano Zapata is? He said, no, I have no idea who that is. And at that time, he was like 12, 13ish, right? So I asked him, because I'm thinking, well, you must have at least heard of him, But he's like, no, I've never heard about him, who he is, So then I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't really think much of it. But then, a few minutes later, I seen that he was watching a movie on his phone. I think it was like Saving Private Ryan or something, because he didn't really want to watch what was on the screen. So then I'm like, So a new question popped in my head. I asked him, I was like, do you know who David Crockett is? He said, yes. Isn't he the guy who can wrestle bears? Who can pick up, tons of lumber, of wood, with his pinky, And it shocked me that he knew who David was, but he didn't know who Zapata was. I mean, Zapata represents his heritage. And, David fought in, David Crockett fought in the Alamo, meaning he killed Mexicans, And I'm not saying, there's anything wrong with, admiring David Crockett or anything, or that there's anything wrong with him. I'm just saying that how you can tell how deeply and unsung this general was. And the thing is that he played such an important role in the Mexican Revolution that some don't even know who he is, Zapata stood for a lot of things, right? He stood for independence. He stood for liberty. He stood for his people, his indigenous people, who just wanted what was theirs, right? It wasn't like communism or anything, right? They just wanted what was theirs. They weren't against the government. They were against an individual, Porfirio Diaz, which was the person being in charge at that time. with that whole dictator thing, dictator era in the 1900s to the 1900s. Now, my dad always told me that soldiers come and die, years come and fly, days come and go, but generals like Zapata, those are once in 5, 10, 18 lifetimes, you know? And it makes me a little, not sad, I'm not gonna use the word sad, but it makes me disappointed. Because we need people like that to this day. Because to this day, there's still injustice, not just in Mexico, but even here with farm workers. Alright? And I don't really like to talk about this part of the speech, but there was an end of his era. You know, nobody lives forever. He unfortunately got ambushed on April 10th of 1919, and they ambushed him from the back. They wouldn't do it from the front because, I mean, that would be crazy. Because Emiliano was brave. I mean, he was a bull. He was a raging bull. All right, so that would be crazy to go head to head. You know. But yeah, he died. But his followers continued his legacy. They continued fighting. They continued, arguing over, what should be done the right way, and they never gave up. Never did. And I feel like to this day, there's still people who believe in that cause. And one of those people is me. Alright? I believe that, that Mexico should be a better and more prosperous country than what it is right now. It should be a little bit more fair to those who are under. Let those politicians come down and live at least 1 week, 1 day, or just 3 hours. Let them live in the conditions that these poor people live in, and see if they don't want to change their ways, their views on the poor. But they will never do that. That's why that's why I need, not just me, that's why we need people like you, your grandma, your neighbor, your brother, your sister, your dad, your mom, to just, to care about, to pay attention to these things that are going around. It's 2020, I'm gonna leave you off with this. Something that represented him. Tierra y libertad. Meaning terrain and liberty. On April 10, 1919, in Morales, a hero died. And hopefully, a new one was born. Thank you.